My dear friends, a new day begins, and we do not know what it will bring, joy or sorrow, ease or hardship, but we know this: God is with us. So let us offer this day to Him and pray with trust. Lord, let me be a light in the darkness. As Matthew chapter 5 verses 14 to 16 says, "You are the light of the world." May we live today with purpose, spreading love wherever we go. Before you pray, take another deep breath and understand that this breath itself is grace. Not something you earned but something gifted. Each inhale is proof that God is not finished with you. Each heartbeat is a quiet affirmation that your life still has purpose, still has meaning, still has a reason to exist today. And in this moment, before anything demands your attention, before your mind fills with to-do lists or worries, remember that this pause is sacred. The world will try to pull you into its rhythm, but God is inviting you into His. His rhythm is not hurried. It is not anxious. It is steady. It is grounded. It is full of peace. And you, His beloved, are being called into that peace. Before you speak your first word aloud, speak to your soul with kindness. Remind yourself that you are not just someone trying to survive another day. You are someone planted on purpose to reflect the beauty of heaven right where you are. And though you may feel unqualified or unnoticed or weary, that does not cancel your calling. The world needs light, and God has chosen to place that light in you. Not by accident, not by mistake, but with intention. When Jesus said, "You are the light of the world," He wasn't talking to perfect people. He wasn't addressing the powerful, the popular, or the polished. He was speaking to ordinary people, people who had doubts, people who had fears, people who had failed. He was speaking to people like you, people like me, and in that, there is profound comfort, because it means you don't have to wait until you have it all together to shine. You don't have to be impressive to make a difference. You just have to be willing to say yes to love, willing to show up, willing to surrender your fear and step forward in faith. Because light isn't loud, light isn't flashy, light simply shows up and does what it's made to do. It shines. And you, too, were made to shine, not for your own glory, not to prove yourself, but to reflect the one who is glory. This morning, as you get ready to pray, ask yourself, am I carrying light or am I absorbing darkness? Am I believing what God says about me, or what my doubts whisper? Am I entering this day aware of the divine purpose stitched into my soul? Or am I sleepwalking through the hours? You don't need to have all the answers, but you do need to start with this truth: God delights in you. He looks at you with joy. He isn't ashamed of your wounds. He isn't shocked by your brokenness. He sees it all and still chooses you, still trusts you with His light, still sends you out into the world as a bearer of His presence. So as you pray, pray not from a place of performance, but from a place of belonging. You belong to the light. You walk with the light. And because of that, you carry light into places that desperately need it. When you step into that workplace, into that classroom, into that kitchen or hallway or neighborhood, you are not just showing up. You are arriving with a divine purpose. And that purpose is to shine, not by being perfect, but by being faithful, by being kind when it's easier to be indifferent, by being honest when it's tempting to hide, by being gentle when the world is harsh, by being hopeful when everything feels uncertain. That is how light lives. That is how light leads. That is how you become what Jesus says you already are. And even when you feel dim, even when you feel like your flame is flickering, remember this. A flickering flame still pushes back the dark. A flickering flame is still fire. And fire, even small, can be holy. So do not despise the small light in you. Do not compare your radiance to someone else's. Do not believe the lie that says your light is too weak to matter. God made you light. He called you light, and He never wastes His words. He never assigns an identity by accident. He never declares something that isn't true. So today, walk in the truth, not in fear, not in shame, not in guilt. Walk in the truth of who you are. You are a light. You are a vessel. You are beloved. You are needed. You are here not by mistake but by mission. And that mission is not complicated, it is simply to love. To love God. To love others. To love yourself enough to let Him shine through you. And when you do, even in the smallest ways, you fulfill something eternal. You participate in a plan far greater than your own. You become part of a kingdom that brings light to every corner of a dark world. So yes, your prayer matters. Yes, your voice matters. Yes, your presence matters. Start the day grounded in this identity. Let it shape how you speak, how you move, how you respond to what comes. Let it guide how you pray. Come to God not as a stranger, not as a servant begging for approval, but as a son or daughter already loved. Let your prayer be honest. Let it be surrendered. Let it be filled with light. And if your words fail, if you don't know what to say, simply sit in silence and let your heart say what your mouth cannot. God hears even the unspoken light. And He is near, always near, especially when you remember who you are in Him. Before anything else claims your attention today, before the noise begins and the expectations take over, before your heart is pulled in 100 directions, let your first step be toward God, not as a formality or a habit but as a conscious act of surrender and connection. Because if you are going to carry light into this day, it must begin with the source of all light Himself, and that source is not your own energy, not your own wisdom, not your own motivation, but the presence of the living God who breathes light into your soul and calls it good. So before you say yes to the world, say yes to Him, even in silence, even in stillness, even in the gentle whisper of your spirit, and let that yes be your beginning. Because light cannot shine unless it is kindled, and your heart, no matter how sincere, needs to be touched by fire. And that fire comes from Him, not from the rush of your schedule or the approval of others, but from the intimate space where you and your Creator meet, where words may be few but truth runs deep, where you stop performing and simply receive. And in this space you ask with humility and honesty, Lord, let my light begin with you, not because you are worthy, but because He is willing, not because you are capable, but because He is generous. And in that prayer is everything you need, not a complicated theology or list of perfect words, just the heart of someone who wants to begin well, not with stress, not with self, but with God. And as you pray these words, know that heaven hears you, that your quiet longing is enough, that your desire to be light is pleasing to the one who is light. So do not wait until you feel spiritual enough. Do not delay until you feel whole. Pray now, right here, exactly as you are, with a morning soul, half awake, maybe uncertain, maybe burdened, but still reaching upward, still turning toward grace, and say again, Lord, let my light begin with you. Because there are many places you could draw strength from today, but only one that will never run dry. And that place is His presence. And maybe you don't feel ready. Maybe you're still carrying yesterday's mistakes. But His mercy is new every morning. And today is not yesterday. Today is a fresh invitation. A new beginning. A chance to open your hands and say, God, I bring you all of me, my doubt, my fear, my hunger to do better, my hope that I can be a light, even if it's just a small one, and He will not turn away from that prayer. He will meet you there, in that space where your willingness becomes His canvas, where your emptiness becomes the room where His Spirit can dwell and fill you with something greater than yourself. And so you do not need to force the light. You only need to receive it, to let it rise naturally from being near Him, to let it overflow from the intimacy of this moment. And that begins now, with you slowing down, with you remembering that being with Him is not wasted time. It is the most necessary time. It is the center from which everything else flows. And in this center you find alignment. You find identity. You find peace that surpasses understanding and light that cannot be extinguished by external darkness. And so even as the day demands your attention, even as responsibilities call and people expect things of you, you are anchored here, grounded in God, lit from within, and able to respond not from panic but from presence, not from pressure but from purpose. Because when your light begins with Him, it will carry His character, His patience, His love, His gentleness, and that changes everything, not only for you but for those around you. Because the way you treat others, the way you speak, the way you show up, all becomes an echo of the light that started your day. And that echo reaches farther than you can see, into hearts and spaces you may never realize. But God does, and He uses it all, even the quiet acts, even the unnoticed kindness, even the small courage to forgive or smile or show mercy. And that is why it matters where your light begins. Because when it starts with God, it does not end with you. It becomes part of something holy, something eternal. And so let this be your prayer, not just once but every morning. Lord, before I do anything else, before I try to shine on my own, I want to be lit by you. I want to be filled by you. I want to be shaped by you, so that whatever light I carry today, it will reflect your heart, not mine, your love, not my pride, your truth, not my fear. And if you can start your day with that kind of posture, with that kind of prayer, you will not need to chase perfection, because you will be walking in the presence of the Perfect One, and He will guide you, strengthen you, and make your light steady even when the winds blow, even when the sky darkens, even when others do not see the light in you. He sees it, and He sustains it, and He will make sure it does not go out. So today, before you run, be still. Before you speak, listen. Before you give, receive. Before you shine, be filled. And all of it starts with God. All of it begins in this holy space where your soul meets His love. And from that love, you shine. There will be days when the light feels far away, when the weight on your chest feels heavier than the sunrise outside your window. When the world feels dim and your own soul feels like a flickering ember instead of a steady flame. And on those days, I want you to remember this. Your light is not defined by how bright you feel. It is defined by the God who placed it within you. And even in the dark, even in the silence, even in the shadows of your mind and heart, you still shine. Not because you are strong, but because He is present. Not because everything is okay, but because He remains faithful. And the beauty of being a light in the darkness is not that you never experience the darkness, but that you do not become it. And even when you are surrounded by fear, confusion, or pain, your light, His light in you, can still glow, still burn, still offer warmth, because His Spirit does not abandon you when the sky goes gray. He draws nearer, and His light does not fade when yours feels weak. Instead, He carries you, fuels you, breathes life into you in quiet ways that often go unseen until later. So in those hard mornings when joy feels out of reach, when peace feels like a distant memory, when the night has left you aching and unsure of how to begin again, start small, start honest, start where you are, and say to God, I don't feel like light today, but I believe you still see it in me. So help me trust that it's there, and that simple prayer, that whispered reaching, is already light, it's already faith. Already hope, already evidence that the darkness has not won. Because you are still reaching, still hoping, still showing up, and that counts more than you know. And I want to remind you that the night never lasts forever. And even when it stretches longer than expected, the sun is still moving, the morning is still coming, and God is still working in the hidden places. In the places where healing grows like roots underground, unseen but real, quiet but strong, and in your weariness, in your confusion, in your questions that have no answers yet, you can still be light. Because light is not the absence of struggle, it is the presence of grace. And grace will carry you when effort can't. Grace will whisper when motivation fails. Grace will remain when feelings fade. So don't wait to feel worthy of being light, just be. Just trust. Just lift your eyes and your heart toward the one who never leaves you, even in the deepest night. And remember that He was never afraid of the dark. In fact, He steps into it, walks through it, and brings beauty from it. And He will do the same with your life, with your pain, with your tears. So let the darkness become the backdrop that reveals your light even more clearly. Not because you shine perfectly, but because you dare to shine at all. Because you choose not to hide, not to give up, not to close yourself off. And that choice, however quiet, is an act of courage. And that courage echoes, inspires, heals, even when you don't realize it. Because others see your faith in the fire, and it reminds them they're not alone. Others see your honesty in the hard places, and it makes space for them to be honest too. And in that way, your light becomes a gift, not only to you but to the world around you. And God honors that. He uses that. He multiplies that, and turns your brokenness into blessing, your weakness into testimony, your story into a source of light for others still walking through the dark. So don't despise the seasons that feel heavy. Don't curse the night. Instead, talk to God in it. Lean on Him in it. Find your truest prayers there. The ones that come without polish, without performance. The ones that simply say, God, I need you. and know that He hears, that He answers, not always with immediate change, but with quiet strength, with faithful love, with peace that holds you even when the situation doesn't. And that is how your light endures. Not by always feeling strong, but by always coming back to the source. Always returning to the one who never turns away, who never grows weary, who never forgets where you are or how deeply you're trying to follow Him. And in the dark, when your eyes adjust, you'll see it. The glow that never went out. The ember that still lives. The steady presence of God in your midst. And that light will grow. Not all at once, but steadily, faithfully, as you keep showing up. Keep praying. Keep trusting. And even if your prayers are filled with sighs, even if your voice trembles, even if your heart wonders if it's enough, God says it is. Because He looks not at the eloquence of your words but at the sincerity of your heart. And your heart, even tired, is still His, still precious, still the place He longs to dwell. And from that place, He will help you shine, not in flashy ways, but in true ones, in ways that bring healing, bring hope, bring light that lasts longer than circumstance. Because this is the kind of light the world needs, the kind that knows pain, the kind that's walked through the valley, the kind that understands what it means to cry in the night and still choose to believe in morning. So don't hide your light just because it flickers. Don't disqualify yourself just because you struggle. Let the struggle become the soil where compassion grows, where humility grows, where your faith deepens and your light shines not in spite of the darkness but through it. And in doing so, you reflect the one who shines most beautifully through broken places, through humble hearts, through surrendered lives. And that is your calling. Not to be unshakable, but to be real, not to impress, but to reflect. And the more you rest in that, the more you realize that darkness has no power to define you. It only becomes the place where your light proves it is real. You were never meant to shine for yourself alone. And the light within you, as sacred and beautiful as it is, was not given just to comfort you in your own space, but to be shared, to be poured out, to be carried into the places where others have forgotten what light even feels like. Because while your morning prayer strengthens your soul and centers your heart, its power is multiplied when it overflows into the lives of others, into the ordinary and overlooked moments, into the conversations that need gentleness, into the glances that need kindness, into the silence that needs presence. And the truth is, your light is not just about you. It is God in you offering Himself to the world through your words, your choices, your being. And that truth is both humbling and empowering. Because it means that every small decision you make today can be an act of love. Every response you give can reflect Christ. Every step you take can be a whisper of hope to someone walking in darkness. Even if they never say it out loud, even if you never see the fruit, it still matters. It still counts. And this is why your light must not stop at the edges of your own comfort. Because the world is aching. Hearts are hurting. People are carrying battles they never talk about. And the light in you may be the only glimpse of heaven they encounter today. So when you speak with patience instead of anger, when you forgive instead of hold grudges, when you reach out instead of retreat, you are participating in something holy, something eternal. And that is no small thing. So don't underestimate the power of showing up with kindness. of choosing compassion over convenience, of offering peace when the atmosphere is tense. Because light often speaks loudest through quiet acts, and the way you move through the world may be the answer to someone else's silent prayer. And God uses that. He uses you, not because you are flawless, but because you are willing. Not because you have all the answers, but because you trust the one who does. And so as you continue your prayer today, as you ask God to guide your steps, also ask Him to open your eyes to the people around you. Not in a vague, distant way, but in a grounded, tangible awareness, because there is someone who needs your encouragement, someone who needs your honesty, someone who needs your gentle presence just as much as you need God's presence right now. And when you allow your light to become a gift, you begin to live beyond yourself. You begin to love the way Jesus loves, sacrificially, intentionally, unconditionally. And that is what transforms ordinary days into sacred ones. Not because everything goes perfectly, but because love becomes your reason, your motive, your response. And love, real love, always brings light, even when it costs you comfort, even when it's not returned, even when it's not noticed. It still bears fruit, because love never returns void, and neither does light. So do not wait to be recognized before you give. Do not wait to feel appreciated before you serve. Let your light be a river, not a reservoir. Let it flow into homes, into hallways, into workplaces, into waiting rooms, into every place where hope feels scarce. And when your light touches someone else's darkness, healing begins, not because you're the healer, but because you carry the presence of the one who is. And sometimes the greatest miracle you'll witness today is not in a breakthrough moment but in the quiet resilience of your consistent love. In your ability to stay tender in a harsh world. In your refusal to turn inward when others turn cold. And that kind of love is powerful. That kind of light is unstoppable. Because it moves in alignment with the heart of God, and when you move in step with His heart, you begin to see differently, to listen deeper, to speak more gently, to forgive more easily, and in that way your light grows, not only in depth but in reach, and you become part of the divine plan to bring heaven to earth. One moment, one gesture, one act at a time. And so as you continue this day, let this be your prayer. Lord, don't just help me shine for me. Help me shine for others too. Help me notice what you notice. Help me care about what you care about. Help me give even when it's inconvenient. Help me love even when it's uncomfortable. Help me serve even when it goes unseen. Because I don't want my light to end with me. I want it to lead others to you. And when you pray that, when you truly mean it, God will open doors, not always big or dramatic ones, but sacred ones, opportunities to lift someone's spirit, to speak life into someone's weariness, to bring peace where there's tension, to stand beside someone who feels forgotten. And when those moments come, do not underestimate them. Do not delay your yes. Step into them with the quiet boldness of someone who knows they are sent. Because you are sent not to change the world by force but to light it with faithfulness. And that kind of faithfulness, over time, will build bridges, soften hearts, and make the love of Christ visible in ways no sermon ever could. So as you walk forward today, hold this truth close. Your light is for others too. Your faith is not private property. Your love is not meant to be locked away. And the more you give, the more you receive, the more you serve, the more you are filled. Because God's kingdom does not run on scarcity, it runs on abundance. And when you pour out your light, He fills you again, and again, and again, not because you've earned it, but because that's who He is, generous, sustaining, overflowing, and He delights to use your life as a lampstand, not hidden but lifted up, not hidden but placed exactly where someone else needs to see a reason to hope. And so keep shining, even when no one claps, even when no one comments, even when no one sees the effort it takes. Because God sees, and He calls it good, and in His eyes, your light is not small, it is sacred. Now that the day has begun and you've placed your heart in the hands of God, now that you've remembered who you are, that you've chosen to begin with Him and shine not only for yourself but for others, there is one more prayer left to carry you through the hours ahead. It is the prayer for endurance, for strength to keep burning bright until the night falls. Because it is one thing to start your morning full of light, full of hope, full of purpose, but it is another to remain in that posture when the afternoon brings interruptions, when misunderstandings happen, when tiredness sets in and your soul feels worn from trying. And that is when the light within you is most tested, not at sunrise but at the slow descent of the day, not when it's easy to smile but when it's hard to stay patient, not when everything flows smoothly but when things unravel unexpectedly. And that is why your prayer must not end with the morning. It must become a rhythm throughout your day, a steady return to the source of your light, because the world will give you reasons to dim down, to hold back, to match its anger, to mirror its chaos. But you were not made for that. You were made to shine with something deeper, something more constant, something that outlasts the heat of the moment or the sting of an unkind word. And that something is the Spirit of God within you. So as you continue into the middle of your day, and then into the shadows of evening, let your prayer be this: Lord, help me remain lit by you, not by emotion, not by the approval of others, not by my mood, but by your steady flame. And when you feel weary, when your patience wears thin, when your joy feels faded, don't push yourself harder, turn inward, turn upward, turn toward Him again, and let Him remind you that your light is not running on your own energy. It's running on grace, and grace does not run out. Grace replenishes, grace restores, grace breathes new life into a soul that's poured itself out in love. So keep returning to Him throughout the day, not with long, complex prayers, but with simple moments of awareness, with quiet whispers that say, "Here I am again, Lord, and I need you," and He will meet you in the hallway, in the car, at your desk, in the middle of a conversation. He is not limited by space or time. And He delights to refill you again and again, because He knows that staying bright in a world like ours is no small task. But He has not asked you to do it alone. He has offered Himself to you as your strength, your anchor, your light, and He is not disappointed when you falter. He is present, ready to lift you again. And as the day grows long and your body grows tired and your mind is pulled in many directions, come back to that simple truth. You are the light of the world not because you are perfect but because He is present. And His presence does not leave you just because the hours stretch on. In fact, it becomes even more essential, Because the moments you think are mundane are the ones where your light shines most clearly. When you choose gentleness at the end of a long day. When you forgive without being asked. When you serve without being seen. When you bless others with silence, presence, or peace. All of that is the continuation of your prayer. All of that is your light still burning. And by the time the sky fades and the night returns, may your soul look back and say, I stayed with you, Lord. I tried to be faithful. I chose to shine. And even if you fell short, even if you lost your temper or forgot to pause or said something you regret, don't let shame blow out your flame. Because light can flicker and still be light. It can stumble and still be sacred. So instead of ending the day in guilt, end it in gratitude, because you came back to God again and again. And that is what keeps your light alive, not perfection but persistence. Not power but dependence. Not image but intimacy with the one who knows you and still delights in you. And if there's one thing to remember before the day closes, let it be this: your light matters more than you think. It reaches farther than you know. And God is using every step you take in love to build something beautiful. So don't stop shining just because the sun goes down. Don't believe the lie that you're too small or too broken to make a difference. Because God has always used humble lights to do holy things. And you are part of that story. And if you can carry that into your night, into your rest, into your dreams, then you have truly prayed, not just with words but with your life. Not just in the morning but all the way until the stars come out. And that is the kind of prayer that changes the world quietly, faithfully, deeply. So keep burning bright, not because it's easy but because it's what you were made for. Keep showing up, keep loving, keep believing, because your light does not end when the day does, it echoes into eternity. Wishing you a peaceful day in the love of Christ. May the Lord be with you fully throughout this day. My dear friends, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can continue to meet, to pray, and to find peace in Him together. Thank you. Take care, and see you again soon.